population management program of the government poisons the blood of the citizens at large. People with the blood type AB positive are the only ones saved in this purge owing to them having the rarest blood type. The last of the survivors can evade termination till the time they receive regular blood transfusions, the rationing of which is controlled by the government. Amidst this mess, Onslow is a ruthless warden who uses a young child to serve justice by eliminating the wrongdoers. On the other hand, Maya is among the precious immune section of the population who manages to survive by stealing whatever she can from the abandoned homes in the surrounding area. As she returns home after one such day, Warden Onslow dictates a notice that his assistant types out. Serving as the warden for District 22 of East River, Onslow's notice assures its citizens of their warden's support in the new future that they face. A few days later, a group of scalpers host a brutal competition for survival when Maya comes across a hostage they have taken. Keeping track of Maya's progress, the hostage is shot by one of the snipers of the group. While they decide to leave Maya's fate up to their leader Tobias, he announces a prize of 3 pints of blood for whoever captures her. However, he is taken down by one of his own. The rest of the group continues to look for Maya, who has managed to find herself a hiding place but still remains at the mercy of the scalpers. Smartly hoodwinking them, she cautiously makes her way ahead but is soon found. To her surprise, the scalper urges her to leave while she still can. Back at the abandoned amusement park where Maya lives with her grandfather Charlie, she helps him with collecting his blood. Immune to the government's poison, Charlie is an underground supplier for the less fortunate while keeping Maya away from such business. Strictly reminding her of the danger of the lurking scalpers in the woods outside the park that is their home, Charlie asks her to stay within its confines for her safety. Unbeknownst to the rebellious nature of his granddaughter, an armed Charlie then makes his way through the woods and then down the river to drop his contribution. Later that evening, Onslow carries his ailing son Elijah to a makeshift clinic to ask the nurse Naomi for help. Examining the boy, Naomi identifies his disease to have progressed and informs Onslow that it will not be much longer before it reaches the eyes and eventually the brain as well. His desperation as a father leads him to learn that only a full transfusion of clean AB-positive blood can save his son's life. By the next morning, Charlie reaches his destination and meets Jade to make his submission. Paying him a tiny amount of gold in return, she hints at getting his underage and unregistered granddaughter to contribute as well. This only leads to an enraged Charlie warning her to stay away from Maya. Simply telling him that they were all puppets of the government, she then hands over a handmade relaxation concoction to him as he takes his leave. Meanwhile, Naomi suggests the upcoming underground blood auction as an opportunity to secure some much-needed supply of clean blood. As a government employee, however, Onslow would lose his job if he was caught buying from the black market. Instead, he wonders if Naomi knew of any unregistered survivor from whom he could secure a full transfusion for his son. Having worked with Jade before the purge, Naomi gets Onslow her address in an attempt to help him save his son's life. A group of scalpers, meanwhile, reaches the park while Maya is on her own. While she takes one of them down, she is forced to run and hide from the others until she eventually faces another. Strongly hitting him, Maya sees as the man is taken out by an arrow, and her savior is yet again revealed to be the same woman as before. This revelation startles Maya out of her disturbing dream while Onslow visits his wife's grave to mourn their ailing son. Angry at his helplessness and at the government that employs him to have turned him into their puppet, Onslow promises his wife that he will somehow find a way to save Elijah. Back at the amusement park, meanwhile, Maya's nightmare fuels her need to train herself better. As she spends time honing her skills, she builds her ability to fight and survive in a world in which she faces the risk of becoming someone's prey because of her rare blood. Elsewhere, the leader of the underground, Roberto, discusses their dwindling supply with another member, Hawk. A stranger walking into their territory gets Roberto to reprimand Hawk on further securing the place before leaving him to deal with the intruder. As it turns out, the guy is looking for blood rations, which is obviously not something that the underground deals with. Nonetheless, he gets in a fight with Hawk while Roberto meets Jade. Urging her to finish her work on Charlie's blood faster, he asks her to drop it off once she's done. However, she is soon caught by government officials and threatened for information about their source. Helpless, she names Charlie and offers them the stash she has. Admitting to using some of the blood for her survival, Jade is then ordered to be eliminated while the stash reaches Onslow and Naomi. Checking its meager amount, Naomi states that it might help Elijah for a few days. Later that evening, Roberto hosts the auction, which Onslow claims to attend for personal reasons and not to arrest anybody. Offering Jade's lockbox containing gold and Charlie's latest submission, Onslow demands to know the source of the underground's work. Reluctant at first, Roberto informs him about the twice-a-week drop-offs, after which Jade works on the submission to double it. Threatening to shut down the entire place, Onslow then demands that the source be brought to him if Roberto does not wish to face the warden's version of a trial. Speaking to Charlie the next morning, Maya appreciates the time they have spent together. Since she never knew her father, she says that her grandfather's presence in her life is something she values a lot. They recall then how as a child she used to get into fights with the neighborhood bullies and would end up grounded. While she says that she never considered watching his movies as punishment, he honestly reminds her that all the films he worked in were flops. As a failing actor, he had then sought shelter at the amusement park where he hosted an entertainment show with mannequins. When he puts on a show for her later, the act scares her into wondering about his intentions. Pulling a shotgun on him, she questions whether his regular visits to town had possibly messed with his health. However, he calmly assures her that it was all an act, in addition to reminding her that they both had the same blood type, which was immune to the genetically engineered poison of the government. Later, he heads out by himself to check on their disabled generator. Cautiously making his way through the woods, he suddenly comes across a hooded scalper. Standing his ground, Charlie is able to defend himself and successfully overpower his opponent. Just then, he faces another scalper, the same female who spared Maya's life. While she checks on her fellow scalper, Charlie tosses over a bag of blood to her. Without a word, he then continues on his way and eventually arrives at Jade's place just as she breathes her last. Armed with her crossbow, meanwhile, Maya is out in the woods before she finds a hiding place across the scalper's camp. Skillfully taking down a couple of members of the group, her attack stops when she comes across her savior and they both get emotional facing each other. Subsequently, Maya is on her own when Roberto and Hawk track her from a distance and come across Charlie on his way back home. Suddenly attacked, Maya puts up a strong fight and successfully blinds her assailant. On the other hand, Roberto dismisses his hand in Jade's passing and instead mentions seeking Charlie as the source of the supply. Distracting them with another bag of blood, Charlie tries to run. Roberto's bullet grazes his leg just as Maya rushes to her grandfather's aid and shoots an arrow at Roberto. Taking on Hawk then, she manages to turn Roberto's gun on him and Hawk to successfully take them both down. Helpless against the government's program, meanwhile, Naomi loses a patient at the clinic. On the other hand, Maya and Charlie safely get back home where she insists that she cannot remain hidden in the amusement park anymore. The more Charlie mentions staying safe within its confines, the more her frustration builds, which leads to lashing out at her grandfather about their sad lives. Refusing to accept his rules anymore, she leaves him behind while Onslow is at the clinic with Naomi. Examining Elijah's rapidly deteriorating condition, Naomi reveals that the source, Charlie, is her husband. She agrees to tell Onslow where he can find Charlie on the condition that he has not caused any harm. Speaking of his ill health, Naomi then says that one of his shows at the amusement park had gotten out of hand one day, and had scared several people including her. As a psychiatric evaluation had been ordered when he was arrested after the show, Naomi is confident that he should actually be in an institution instead of fending for himself. While he had been released into her care, Charlie had managed to slip away to the park and she tells Onslow that he has been there ever since, insisting that he has never listened to her. Naomi then tells Onslow about their granddaughter, Maya, in the hopes of getting him to see sense. Accompanying Onslow's men, Naomi leads them through the woods towards the amusement park where Charlie is preparing to put on a show. Speaking to him, she tries to convince him to get back to town with her. While one of Onslow's men looks around Charlie's space before suffocating, Naomi speaks of Elijah's condition to Charlie. Stating that they all face the same danger, he gets away from Naomi under the pretense of entertaining his guests. While Charlie drives around in a daze, Onslow's men continue looking through his belongings. Coming back to Naomi, he is then assured that Onslow promised not to harm him. However, he promptly reminds her that the government is not where they should choose to put their trust. In an attempt to distract him then, she reminisces about a fond memory. Meanwhile, Elijah's inevitable fate catches up to him, much to Onslow's disappointment. As he makes his way to Charlie's amusement park, Naomi helps Charlie pack a few things. Soon, Onslow joins his men on the property. Grieving for his son, he reprimands one of them for not having found Charlie on time for Elijah's sake before warning him of a purge of his own kind. The sound of his gunshot alerts Naomi and she rushes to leave with Charlie following close behind. With only revenge on his mind, Onslow seeks them. He manages to catch up with them just as they reach the exit of the amusement park and slaps Naomi out of the way before facing Charlie. Anger and grief lead him to attack Charlie, before Maya suddenly shoots an arrow at Onslow. As he goes down, however, he shoots at Charlie. Subsequently, on Charlie's 80th birthday, he finishes his manuscript. Since it is expensive for the government to care for citizens above this age, Charlie is then escorted to be purged. Angry at the government as always, Charlie is then allowed to meet Naomi. When he insists for Naomi to read the scene he has written, she realizes that it depicts the time when Onslow shot him. A thoroughly emotional Naomi continues reading even as Charlie profusely apologizes to her. Doing his parts in the scene, he says that he created the character of Charlie to feel safe in the world again. Expressing pride for Maya, he also adds that while he always tried to protect her from the evil world, she has proved her capability to face its dangers. Naming Onslow as his nemesis in the story, Charlie then says that Naomi is his leading lady. Insisting then that the only real thing is love and family, Charlie breathes his last. Meanwhile, Maya leaves the safety of her grandfather's amusement park and embarks on an adventure of her own. Revealed to be Maya's mother, the scalper who saved her life gladly watches her daughter enjoying her freedom from afar. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to keep updated with the channel, and as always, have a good day.